gotta help me. I think I killed him. Rachel! Well now, aren't you a tough guy?
What brings you out here?
Just a bad decision.
Say that or what?
What's the gun for?
My land, my rules. Because of you! My brothers are dead!
Can you hear me? Let me get one thing straight. This is just the beginning.
Help!
This is something that you're not going to survive.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Screen Watching. I'm Simon Foster. This man is probably more responsible for nightmares amongst the Australian cinema-going public than anyone you'll ever meet. He's made 3 features, every one more gruesome than the last, and a fine filmmaker in every regard. Welcome to Screen Watching, Sam Curtin. How are you, mate?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about this new one of yours, Beaten to Death, that hits the home entertainment circuit as we speak. It was a festival hit with the team at A Night of Horror, and having seen the film, it certainly plays to your strengths. Where did the idea... Give us a little bit of a plot in 25 words or less, and then where the ideas came from.
Okay, so the basic plot is a guy and a girl go off into the country to, I won't reveal for what, but then they come across some bad guys, they have a bit of an altercation, and now we end up with the girl dead and our lead guy with his eyes gouged out, and he's got to find his way home.
Whoa, now it's a great premise, and it plays out in the most gruesome and somehow engaging of ways. I was quite engaged by this guy's story and the plight along the way. Tell me, the outback setting and the woodland setting, the bushland setting is something you're very fond of. Where did the idea for this sort of narrative come from?
Well, along with my writing partner, Ben Clark, we just sort of gravitate towards those areas because it's essentially the areas that we grew up. So between our 3 movies, the first one was shot sort of where my family was from, and then the second one was kind of where Benny's family is from, and then this one is kind of both. So, it's also, we love, it's what we just sort of gravitate towards, but we also love that aesthetic that Tassie offers, where it has a really harsh wilderness, but also areas that are quite barren and a lot of old farmhouses and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's kind of become this this, someone called it the Bogan Slasher, which I guess has become kind of our niche.
Your films have this I don't want to sound too movie criticky here, but your films have this beautiful texture. You can capture the sort of harshness of a tree stump or a log on the ground or some fence post, and that's reflected in your actors' faces as well. The guys you've cast in certainly in Slaughterhouse Killer most recently, but also in Beaten to Death, have this hardened edge to them, which make them feel very much of the landscape.
Yeah, I think so. Casting is always really important, but something that we try to do is we like to cast tough guys. Yeah. So rather than hire someone that then has to go out and grow a beard and put on a snarl and sort of try to fake it, we get guys that have that look, and we get these big blokey blokes, and so I think that becomes pretty clear that that's what these guys are. Yeah, so are they like a part of the landscape? Sort of.
We should point out that you put your leading man, Thomas Roach, isn't it? Is your leading man?
Mm-hmm.
You put him through hell in this film. For those few seconds that I was a little bit taken out of the story, I thought to myself, oh my God, first of all, this must have been a continuity nightmare because he's covered with blood head to toe, and his eyes are shut for the whole film after. And we'll get to the eye scene in a minute. But tell me about putting an actor under this sort of pressure. What responsibilities you have as a filmmaker to make sure everything's cool, everything's calm, we'll get what we want. But what's it like shooting some of these intense scenes with an actor who's clearly, he's under stress?
Yeah, well, first of all, Tom Roach and I go back some 20 years almost. So
wow.
Ben, Tom and I, we all actually met at school, and we bonded over the horror movies, and so we're all really close mates. So first of all, we were working with a friend, and a friend who was very involved in the production. But as far as like how we pushed him, like, yes, there were the expectations of the script, and Tom was pretty much okay with basically all of it. But whatever he'd written, he'd always add another 10 or 20% on top of that.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. And so, even like for us, watching him go through his performance, it's actually like kind of quite heart-wrenching or like gut-wrenching to watch. And he'd call cut and you'd be like, you okay, man? And he's like, yeah. or he's just a masochist. I don't know. But
clearly everyone was on the same page in this. I mean, there's a combination of visions working here that come together really, really well in Beaten to Death. 2 words, eye trauma. You do what I can't think of another director trying to pull this off, but spoiler alert, you show intense eye trauma from the eye's point of view. And it was when I realized this film, okay, this is Sam Curtin, and he's beating the hell out of this young guy, and it's all impacting exactly the way I know Sam can do it. And then the eye scene happens, and it took the film to the next level. It took the film to something new, something fresh, and something totally chilling. Was that always the intention? Was that going to be the pivot point for the film? And how did you pull it off?
Yeah, so like we knew it was going to be an important part of the movie, and so we wanted to really nail it, really get it right, and that it had to be, pretty gnarly and quite confronting. As far as how it came about with like the eye point of view, and then the sequence which we call the black, where it's kind of like a blind perspective, where it's just the black screen and the sound design. It came from conversations with Benny. So like, I'll keep mentioning Benny because like we write, we produce together, we're creatively just like so in tune. And throughout our process, we just kind of like try to one up one another. And so Benny will make a suggestion, and then I'll be like, oh, what about this? And then, oh, but what if we did this? And then, by the end of it, he's got both of his eyes ripped out and he's screaming and spewing, and and it just kind of goes from there.
Its DNA is in the hard-edged 70s horror films like I Spit on Your Grave, like Hills Have Eyes, those sort of films. Are there any specific inspirations or reference points that you kept drawing upon or keep drawing upon in your work?
Yeah, you've actually nailed a couple right there. Basically, our 2 biggest inspirations were that kind of like hard-edge, rough 70s movies. So yes, The Hills Have Eyes, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just obviously an influence on any movie such as this. But also the French New Extreme as well, because like, they have like such, visceral gore, but they also kind of deal with the philosophical a bit as well. And so whilst we didn't go into, deep philosophical themes necessarily, you can see Tom's character's mind essentially breaking and basically questioning whether, if he does manage to survive, is it even worth it? So between those, like smashing those two kind of horror genres together, and this is what we came up with.
Yeah. It's traveled well. It's already played, it played Night of Horror, as we mentioned, and done very well there. And it's played the festival circuit around the world. I would think it's the sort of film, because of the universal nature of his pain and what the character goes through, it would play quite well overseas. How has the international audiences taken to it?
Yeah, it's like, as far as reviews go, we love reading reviews, and it's and like they're honestly, like, admittedly quite mixed. Like, it seems to be either a love it or hate it type movie. So, and we knew that going in, that it was going to be quite divisive, because for some people, I guess, they see a movie called Beaten to Death, and like, even though the movie is quite brutal, it's probably not as gory as some people are expecting. And so, people are either on board and like they get it, they love it, they're 100% behind it, or they're just not quite there. And everyone's got different reasons for that.
Bloody critics! I tell you what. Sure what is next for you? Because you've now made Blood Hunt, Slaughterhouse Killer, Beaten to Death. You've certainly covered that space and covered it in gory, whatever the phrase is. What next for you? Are you keen to explore how much further you can take this kind of film, or is there a different sort of film in Sam Curtin that we're going to see down the track? Because you're still working very much in the independent space, aren't you? You're not doing this with any kind of massive funding or any funding body support or anything like that.
No, that's right. Yeah, so this was completely self-funded. So as far as what's next, we the three movies that we've made, we sort of consider them like a bit of a loose trilogy, because as you said earlier, like, we discussed the settings, similar sort of characters. And so in some ways we're sort of putting a close to it a little bit, our Bogan Slashers. But we're still wanting to work in the horror space and action as well. So it's always been, for us, like, horror and action was always our thing. And we've sort of more and more lean more horror and less action. So we want to sort of explore a bit of action stuff again as well. So we're developing a couple of things. There's a few things we're really excited about, but it's still just like the really early stages of conversations and all that. But we really want to get a budget for the next one too, because like doing movies the way that we do it, like, it's really fun and it's awesome, and we're a group of friends and we have a lot of laughs, but it's bloody hard. It's really hard. And so we'd like to get paid, and because, like, as far as the cast and crew, we all work, like, we've all got full-time jobs, and so this is what we do on the side, and it's it gets, after three movies, you feel quite exhausted. So yeah, hopefully we can move on to bigger things too.
Well, it's what I find really fascinating about watching the three films is that I see you progress as a filmmaker. I loved Blood Hunt. It just had such a raw energy to it. Similar sort of feel about Slaughterhouse Killer. Then with Beaten to Death, there's ambition in how you shoot things. There's that beautiful shot with the sun where he's dancing, like he's reaching up to the sun, which has got a very Chainsaw Massacre feel about it. And there's a lot of the stuff where the character's sort of wandering through the desert in pain, and that amazing sequence where he in a very smart way, I would never think to do this given the state he's in, but he feels the sun coming up and knows which way is east and north and west. He gets direction from that. That's so it's been great to watch you grow as a filmmaker in this regard. And that's kind of why I asked what's next for you, because I think there's a long and very successful future for you and the team as a filmmaking unit.
Well, let's hope so, because I think that by doing these movies the way that we have, like, we've really cut our teeth. So like we're ready. We're chomping at the bit to just have a crack at something bigger. And yeah, as far as the progression for me as a filmmaker, first of all, thank you. But I feel like something different happened with this as well. Again, like Benny and I just, something really clicked with this. And from the very start, like once we had the concept, like we were just, I don't know, we just like sparks were flying, and just everything that we set out to do, we basically achieved. And so this was kind of the first time I think that we really feel like we started with a vision and we basically pulled off what we were setting out to do. And so that like just, that's a great feeling as a filmmaker.
Yeah, so many filmmakers don't get to say that. So to hear that from you, that's really heartening. Beaten to Death is out through Umbrella Entertainment as we speak here in Australia. It'll travel the world, so look for your local distributors in whatever territory you're in. Sam Curtin, thank you so much for talking to us. Congratulations on this and your past works, and we're looking forward to what comes next.
Awesome. Thank you.